Hello and welcome to Sideways. This week we're talking about the components that come together to make a good life and how we can create the conditions for them to thrive, whether you're in recovery or just conscious of wanting to make the best of your short time here on Earth. Something I can't quite recall gives me the ick, and I resolved to write an episode on that particular subject, which will teach me to keep my mouth shut. Someone becomes astonishingly rich when buying a cappuccino, and if you've ever thought you might like to invest in some smart underwear, Martin has some good news for you. And there's more gratitude than either of us can shake a stick at. How to live a good life.
Good morning to you.
Good morning. Pinching a punch for the first day of the month.
Yes, we mentioned that, didn't we?
Yeah.
In an episode not that long ago.
Is it possible to virtually implement a pinch and a punch, do you think?
I know, but I'll let you have it. I'll let you have it as you put it in first.
Do you want to inflict a virtual flick and a kick for being so quick?
If I could work out how to do it virtually, yeah, I would.
Yeah. I expect there'll be a way of doing it in the future, won't there?
Undoubtedly.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly. You have to get yourself a VR headset, and then we could meet up and have a little fight.
Yeah, you've been going on about that for years.
Yeah, and you haven't embraced it yet, have you?
No, I'm not sure. I don't know what it is. I don't know what my objection is to a VR headset, but it doesn't fill me with enthusiasm.
No, well, it probably doesn't add value, does it?
Yeah.
You can't perceive the value that it adds to you at the moment.
No, not currently.
No. Which is sort of similar to what I want to talk to you about today.
Oh, well, that's fortunate then, isn't it?
It was in many ways. Yeah, you set me up quite nicely there. Because my notes are headed "How to Lead a Good Enough Life."
Right.
Now, you will remember this back in November 2021, episode 4.
Oh, definitely.
Season 4, episode 26. You remember that well, I'm sure.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
We talked about the problems associated with perfectionism during that episode.
Yes.
And the debilitating effect that it has on those that suffer from it. But I thought it'd be a good time to perhaps look at how to set out a framework as to how to lead a fulfilling and in inverted commas. I'm doing that in the camera. No one else can see.
I really hate it when people do that.
Yeah, I've never done it before. I don't think a good enough life.
Stop doing it.
Well, now I know that it annoys you.
It really annoys me. I'll tell you the other thing that really annoys me of that ilk that's been around since, I suppose it must have been Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh, yeah.
When people say we're not worthy and they start bowing. You know,
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
I can't
Yeah.
stand that. I really, when they do this business, obviously, listeners can't see what I'm doing. It's like you're sort of worshipping.
Yeah.
I really can't stand that.
Do you come across that in real life then?
Yeah, I think sometimes you see people doing it, on the telly or whatever.
All right. Yeah.
It gives me the massive ick.
It does give you ick, does it? Yeah.
Actually, we haven't done an episode on ick.
Icks?
The ick.
No, because that's a relatively new word, really, isn't it?
Exactly. That's exactly why I would have thought it's the sort of thing you would have got your teeth into.
Well, I'll jot it down.
Yeah. The
Unless
ick. We should do one on the ick.
Unless you wanted to do one on that.
Yeah, okay, I'll do one on the ick.
Yeah, because it was quite successful, you doing all the work.
Yeah, well, it was okay, wasn't it? It made a sort of nice change. Don't want to do it too often, but...
No, well, you do all the work behind the scenes, don't you? Editing it and...
Yeah, although to be fair, it's not as much work as you do, so...
No, well, I don't know.
But I'm fine with that.
You are, yeah.
Because it means I can lead an enjoyable life.
Well, that's all right. I mean, you cut me off halfway through a sentence. I can't remember where I was. Oh, yeah. About the good enough life.
Oh, yeah.
Inverted commas. So the framework I was looking at, how to lead a sort of good enough life rather than constantly striving for something better that doesn't actually exist.
Yes.
Before we start, there's a couple of things I wanted to mention to you. I came across. The first one was this: there was a technical error in a coffee shop. All right, I won't say which one it is. It was in Nottingham.
Right. You're not going to say which chain?
No.
Okay.
No. So it was in Nottingham, and the technical error briefly turned Sophie Downing, 29-year-old girl, into the richest person in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, she bought a latte with a £10 gift card
Yeah.
that she'd had for Christmas, and the barrister.
Barrister?
Barrister.
Had a barrister in there.
She would have needed one after this. Well, they probably needed one after this. But the barista
Yeah.
sound very similar, don't they?
They do, yeah.
Yeah, the barista.
Lazy, isn't it? Lazy language.
It is lazy language. But the barista accidentally entered the long, there's a long gift card number across
Yeah.
the middle. He entered that into the till instead of the remaining gift card balance. And she ended up with 63 quadrillion quid on the card, right? Which is 63 and then 15 zeros.
Wow.
So
You'd probably be able to get a couple of paninis for
well,
that.
she was 100,000 times richer than Elon Musk, right? And 670 times richer than the entire global economy. So,
Wow.
But she'd have had to spend it in that in that coffee shop, I suppose.
I suppose you would, yeah, because it's on a gift card, isn't it? Is there a time limit to it?
I don't know. You'd have to go somewhere to get through 63 quadrillion.
Oh, that's like, that would give you the same sort of anxious vibes as one of those supermarket sweeps, wouldn't it? When you have to sort of, you don't see them anymore, do you? But they used to do that thing. It used to be a competition prize that you'd have 2 minutes to run around the supermarket and put as much in your trolley as possible.
Yeah.
She's kind of facing that sort of thing, isn't she? With a vast sum of money and having to spend it on lattes, muffins.
You'd just spend your whole life in there, wouldn't you? You'd never get anywhere near it.
Yeah, you'd go in every morning, wouldn't you? And you'd say, all those cakes there, I'll have all of them.
I'll buy the store.
Yeah, and then what you do is you could go and give them to homeless charities or food banks, couldn't you?
Yes, you could. Yeah.
So even though it'd only make a sort of slight dent on the capital, you could do some good with it whilst it lasted until someone realised the error.
Yeah, she'd have purpose in life then, wouldn't she?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
You'd be leading a good enough life there on her 63 quadrillion notes.
Although I think I'd feel a bit stressed having that much money.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I think people stress that. It's like people that win the enormous amounts on the lottery. It's more stressful than you anticipate, trying to spend the money and to use it wisely. And,
yeah, that's worth some research, isn't it? I think anecdotally, people often are less happy after winning a vast sum of money, but I wonder if that is just anecdotal. Perhaps a lot of people think, fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant. Anyway, we'll come back to you. Can do one on that.
The ick. Okay, I'll write that down.
But not the ick, about the happiness of lottery.
Oh, okay. I might do that one as well at some point. Right, so the ick. Okay, all right, carry on. By the way, sorry to interrupt you again.
Go on.
I'm going to have to go and take the bread out of the oven soon.
Okay.
Just to.
Do you want to do that now?
I can't. The buzzer hasn't gone off.
Oh, I see.
I'll take it out early. What's the matter with you?
Right. I thought you just looked at your watch and I thought, it's roughly time. So
no, I'm writing in my sideways notebook.
Yeah, good work. Yes, I'll keep that to hand.
Yeah. All right.
The second little story was the University of Maryland. The researchers there have developed smart underwear.
Oh.
And to track and measure flatulence.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of that then?
Well, we'll talk about that in a second.
Oh, okay.
They've created a small device that you snap into your cax, and it uses electrochemical sensors to track intestinal gas.
Right. Okay.
It specifically records the release of hydrogen. And apparently studies have found that healthy adults produce, they call it flatus.
Yeah. Yeah.
They produce flatus on an average 32 times a day.
Yeah.
It ranges between 4 and 59 times, apparently, on their research. And
must surely depend on what you're eating.
so the average, well, that's where the average comes in.
Okay. See, I see. Yep.
32 times a day. I mean, I've never counted myself, but it seems quite high, doesn't it?
Why don't you? Could you count between now and the next episode, and then tell me and the listeners how many times you think you've passed win?
I've had a touch of flatus. I could, spreadsheet it, couldn't I, on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, that's the sort of thing you do, isn't it?
Work out an average. Yeah, apparently these devices are quite well, been quite well received amongst the medical profession, as it can help to to look at, if someone's got some sort of intestinal
Okay.
problem, so they can see how many times that you do pass wind and can act accordingly.
So is it? I suppose it might be indicative of a problem if you're passing wind too often or not enough.
Yeah,
Is that right?
Exactly right. Yeah, I reckon they should put perhaps a little filter on it with some quite pleasant smells.
Yeah,
you could have a nice patchouli smell each time.
Or the other thing you could do, because so many people have got wearable tech these days, haven't they?
Yeah.
So you should have a little monitor, shouldn't you, on your Apple Watch or something? It tells you when you've hit the required number of farts.
You've got to keep it in for the rest of the day.
Or if you haven't, if you haven't got enough, you might.
Yeah.
Might eat some beans or something.
Eh?
Yeah, exactly. Eat some beans. Go for a
curry.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was quite an interesting development.
Yeah. Are you going to try and source one for yourself?
I'm not. It doesn't worry me greatly.
No. I suppose but it might get to that point that sort of glucose monitors have got to, because people wear those now that aren't diabetic, aren't they? Because there's a lot of research suggesting that glucose spikes have other kind of physiological impacts. Yeah. I'm wondering if people will start to wear fart monitors for the same sorts of reasons.
I don't know. They could be sponsored by like a perfume company, couldn't they? Or aftershave company.
Yeah, or Heinz baked beans or something like that.
Heinz baked beans. So they could get together. So when you walk along the street, you could just smell a little smell of, I don't know, 1 million by Paco Rabanne or something like that.
Yeah, you could go. Someone go on Dragon's Den with that.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, it's not really a problem for the individual, is it? It's more a problem for other people, flatulence.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah. It's like picking up your own dog's poo. No problem with that.
No problem with that.
Picking up another dog's poo, disgusting.
A lot of problem with that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what that's all about. There's some sort of psychological reason for that, I guess.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's another episode I could do.
We did. Well, we touched on the dog poo conundrum, didn't we, in the past?
Did we?
We did, yeah.
Did we? I know we talked about how you never see white dog poo anymore.
No, we talked about whether it's right to. It's one you set me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Should you? Is it okay to put dog poo in someone else's bin?
In someone else's bin.
Yeah. And you said it definitely was.
And or other people to put theirs in your bin.
That's not okay.
No, all of a sudden it's not okay. But anyway, we'd have to cut this out because we're rambling somewhat.
I'm not cutting this out. This would be the best bit.
Best bit? It probably will, actually. I was going to go on to the subject matter about what living good enough, what it actually means.
All right.
So it's initially it's about embracing balance, and balance is something we talk about constantly in groups.
Yeah.
People that are in addiction have had a constantly unbalanced life for many years. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to strive towards getting a balance back. But within that, it's got to be done with within the boundaries of realistic expectations, but it also embraces self-acceptance, and it's not about accepting mediocrity. It's about focusing on what truly matters and letting go of any perfectionism.
Would I be right in thinking that when people are early on in their recovery, that actually balance can feel like something very uncomfortable because they've been so used to chaos?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And as we've discussed before, you become very familiar with what you know, even if it's terribly uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, exactly. But it is about, you almost feel like you're helping them to shoehorn very good practices into their daily lifestyle because it's something I just never haven't embraced for so long. And I remember that feeling well. It is uncomfortable.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that kind of transition from, as you move from that chaotic existence into something that feels more balanced? There must be a point at which there is a kind of realization that, this is actually really quite pleasurable, No,
it's an evolution. So it's little small incremental things, really. The same as the drift into addiction is a slow burner. It's quite a the slope isn't a steep slope going in. It's not a steep climb coming out. It's fairly gentle both ways. No, I think you don't really have this light bulb moment. Everything's great. It's very much a work. And I still feel it as it's work in practice.
So it's like Sittingbourne Road rather than Square Hill.
I think that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of people won't know that, but yeah, Sittingbourne Road is a nice. It's a gradual.
Gradual incline, isn't it?
A gradual incline, but you still feel quite tired at the top of it.
Yeah.
Whereas Square Hill, then you're puffing at the top, you get to the top of that.
Or Tudor Avenue.
Or Tudor Avenue.
I tried to run up Tudor Avenue once, never again.
Don't do that. And we used to ride down that on our bikes as kids because you could get proper speed up.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're drifting again. So, talking about this good enough life.
Yeah. I'm just enjoying my life.
You are, and I'm embracing that.
Well, you're not, are you? You're resisting it.
Well, I'm trying. I'm learning. I'm getting balance in that. So it's about defining your own enough as well.
Yeah.
Because if you don't define what it looks like, you'll always sort of feel behind. Because we know that society, and especially social media, pushes these endless goals. More money and more success and more everything. But I think enough is personal, isn't it?
Very much.
And you've got to look at what makes you feel content without constant striving. It's getting to that point, isn't it? One of the tips on that was to write down your core values, and this is one we work on in groups about your core values. Do
you find that people find that very difficult? Because I often, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't even be able to identify a value.
No.
Something that they feel is important to them, central to their existence.
It is. We often do that on a flip chart, brainstorm it a little bit. But the core values. You sometimes have to prompt initially, and then they will start to tumble out. But it is defining them because I think it's important to do that. And we often then look at creating a sort of a simple vision. And most people say, I want to stay healthy and spend time with loved ones and do work I enjoy, which is a good start. And then you can. It's nice to write this down, to revisit the list, to make sure you stay aligned. I'll come on to that in a minute about the journaling of it. So after you've defined your sort of own enough, I think the second point, I've got several points to look at, but the second point was headed up progress over perfection. And so we did touch on perfectionism, which can lead to stress and paralysis. And there's a theory that, I don't know what you think about perfection as an illusion, but progress creates momentum and confidence. So it's all about little steps, isn't it? And it's all about breaking, and we talked about chunking down, breaking big goals into sort of micro actions. And as an example we often use in groups is instead of, one of my goals, I'm going to get fit. You start off with saying, well, I'll walk 10 minutes a day, and then I'll gradually increase that. So chunking down that to get fit is a long-term thing, really, isn't it? It's again work in progress. You evolve into that.
It's also a bit nebulous. If it's something that you say you want to do, you want to get fit. Part of the problem with that is because it isn't measurable. You never really know when you've reached it.
No,
whereas if you say what I'm going to do is I'm going to go walking 10 minutes a day, you can measure that.
Yeah.
And I think going back to the point you were making before, measurement is a double-edged sword. Sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse. You've got to measure the right things, haven't you? And that's particularly important when you're trying to live an enjoyable life. You've got to know what's worth measuring and what is worth just forgetting about.
It is. That's an interesting point because, again, it's a discussion we often have in groups. Some people like to count the days they're sober.
Yeah.
And weeks and months or whatever, and other people don't bother. They just say, I feel better, and that's it. I haven't really got a sobriety date. This is my new life, and that's it. So whatever works for you. A bit like if you're going on a diet, some people will religiously jump on the scales and have a little win every time they lose a quarter of an ounce or whatever. And other people just say, well, once my clothes fit a bit better, then I'm all right with that.
Yeah, and that's fine. You can have kind of different approaches, but what you have to look out for, I think, if you are someone who, for example, constantly jumps on the scales if you're trying to lose weight, or can't remember the other example you gave there, then sobriety, or you count sobriety days, that's fine as long as you don't find yourself sandbagging yourself or lying to yourself. So, for instance, if you're someone who constantly jumps on the scales and then you think, I think I've put a bit of weight on, I'm not going to get on the scales, Now
Yeah.
you've got a problem with measurement, haven't you?
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
it's your measurement that is holding you back because you're making yourself anxious through measurement rather than helping yourself stay on track. And that's part of the problem. And you can think of examples of that all over life. You know, this thing that you're measuring, is it making your life more enjoyable or is it creating more stress and anxiety? Because if it's doing the latter, then you're not feeling more balanced, are you?
No, you're not. The particular thing about jumping on scales as well, obviously, it can lead to obsession, which can lead to eating disorders, etc.
Yeah.
So, again, we're very careful where I work that we don't let people jump on the scales and stuff because it can become obsessive in its own right.
Yeah.
Self-compassion. We have touched on this, I think, quite a number of times in the past about, everyone makes mistakes and it's just not letting them define you. We know that self-criticism drains energy and self-kindness builds resilience. And it's those two little strap lines that we tend to use quite a lot. And again, the other one about treating yourself like you would a friend in the same situation.
Yeah, a lot of people find that incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and I know when we talk about this in groups, you can see people almost sort of bristle a little bit about it because it is tough. It's very easy to give out advice, and then not use the same rules yourself, and comfort and compassion to other people, put a metaphorical arm around them, but not around yourself.
Yeah, I've found that one of the most perhaps difficult aspects of that is that people can often see the kind of cognitive dissonance of that. They can't do anything about it. They will recognise that they don't treat the people they love in that way, that they don't judge them in the way that they judge themselves, and yet they still find it impossible to change their behaviour towards themselves.
It is, and this is where journaling comes in as well, because journaling is very much the backbone of smart recovery, and the smart recovery sessions that we run. We look at this a lot, and again, if you journal how you're feeling, and then put, what I say to a friend who feels this way, you can then jot it down, and then you can then start to apply it to yourself. Once it's there in writing, once it's there, it's much easier to follow.
Yeah.
So
do you ever? I mean, I don't know if you would do something like this in rehab, but sometimes the thing that stops people from finding self-compassion is the hard-held beliefs they have about themselves.
Yes,
and so,
absolutely.
And so when you start to uncover those, you can see why they would be able to treat someone else with kindness and compassion, but they can't treat themselves like that because they've actually got these beliefs that they fundamentally don't deserve it, which don't necessarily come out in journaling. It might do, but they won't necessarily. And I think sometimes, that process of self-reflection is required in order to understand what is it that you see about yourself. What are these beliefs that you hold about yourself that prevent you from feeling as if you can have self-compassion? Do you come up against that very much?
Yeah, we do, because it's very much rooted in self-esteem at that point, isn't it?
Yeah.
And one of the objectives we set them to work on over the week from time to time is how to improve your self-esteem and self-image, and that sort of thing, because it dovetails quite nicely into what we're talking about here. So there are discussions that go on that as well. So it is building someone up from the depths of addiction back to these places where they do actually start to like themselves again.
And what if you have someone who, for example, finds it easy to describe the things that they don't like about themselves, but they find it much more difficult to think of anything that mitigates those things, anything that balances them out? How do you deal with that?
Well, one of the objectives, people are with us for 12 weeks, and one of the objectives that we set, so they get an objective each week to work on during the week.
Yeah.
And one of them is to talk about your good points.
All right. Yeah.
So that takes some. But what actually happens when they then deliver that the next week after they worked on it in a group setting, they will miss out a lot of points that other people see, and other people will say, "Well, you haven't mentioned this," and they start to then get a realization of what other people see in them, a bit like the Johari window, what other people see in them that they don't see themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
and that tends to, I always like it when I always make sure they do that quite early on, and then perhaps revisit it again later on, especially if they get an extension, to look at it again, because I think things do change. And
I think
that's almost measurable.
Yeah, you're describing there one of the key benefits of peer support,
Yeah.
If people can be surrounded by others who they feel some sort of kinship with because of the place they found themselves, and those other people are seeing things in them that they're not recognising in themselves, there is a certain credibility to that, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah, there is. And they will share the same demons. They've come from very similar places emotionally. Yeah. So, yeah, no, it's powerful. The next point about how to lead a good enough life is about simplifying choices. The mental fatigue.
Yeah, that's tricky.
It is tricky
these days.
Yeah, because I think it's all about, and again we talk about this quite a lot, is about making decisions. It's very easy to flip-flop and to not make a decision, and all the time you're in that horrible no man's land where you don't know quite what to do. It's mentally fatiguing, isn't it? And I think once a decision's been made and you move in that direction, once you made a decision, things seem to get easier.
Yeah, but people find that really tough, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Because there's a kind of combination of, I mean, this is what I find in my work, and I'm sure you find something similar. There's this kind of combination of not trusting in your own instinct.
Yeah.
Allied to such a plethora of choice that it becomes bewildering.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not just talking about sort of buying something, but in life generally, what do I want to watch on the television? What do I want to listen to? Where do I want to go? It's like there's so much, and if you struggle already to have faith in yourself, and you're faced then with a multiplicity of choice, it can be paralysing, and I think people find that terribly difficult.
I think you're right. You've only got to flick through Netflix, haven't you? And think, I'll have a quick look and see what's on, see what I fancy, and you can spend hours almost going through it and not make a decision.
Stressful, isn't it? Stressful.
Very stressful. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure lots of people listening will be familiar with that sort of process that you go through with your partner at home, where you say, "What should we watch on telly?" And then an hour and a half later, you still haven't chosen anything.
No.
Whereas when we were growing up, you watched what was on one of the 3 channels, or you didn't.
That's it. You went outside and played football instead. Yeah.
So,
it's difficult, isn't it? Because we know that decision overload. It steals time and energy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes it harder to lead a balanced, enjoyable life. Not, we've been sold this idea that choice makes us happy and frees us, but it doesn't. It's like a prison.
It is, and I think people have default. I know we always used to criticise it's my old parents-in-law. They used to have a set meal depending on the day it was. So it'd be chops on a Monday, a pie on a Tuesday, and that took away that need for this concentrated choice.
Yeah.
So they had this routine, and so they had defaults for their meals. They had defaults for their clothes. They had certain clothes they wore. You remember the old Sunday best sort of situation where they had that, and it was routinized, and it was. And I remember they used to prep their meals perhaps on a Sunday for the next couple of days, or batch cook something, and it's much easier for them. And I'm always reminded of that. So although people used to take the mickey out of them for that, that was enough for them. They were quite happy with that.
That's the key.
It is.
That's the key. It's finding
exactly
a process and a strategy that works for you.
Yeah.
Because that wouldn't necessarily work for everybody. Some people like that sort of the jeopardy of what should we have for dinner tonight knocking something up. But if you have other things that you'd rather focus on in your life to give you that kind of sense of balance and enjoyment in your life, and you can create kind of process around some of the things that you enjoy less, then obviously that's helpful. But again, it's about what works for you rather than something that you can generally apply.
Exactly. And I think that what to wear on what day. I think a lot of people go through that when they're going to work. They want to. And again, I remember someone that came to work where I'm working now, and she just said, "I've got these tops that I'll wear on between Monday and Friday, and that's it. I've put them to one side. That's my work clothes. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to think, what am I going to wear? It's just done." And that was that. And again, there's a certain amount of That was enough for her. That was fine.
That used to be a problem, wasn't it? When I think we were probably both in the corporate world when the idea of dress down Friday came in.
Yeah.
And that used to give people terrible problems because you think, well, I know what to wear usually, but now dress down, I don't know if I've got anything that kind of fits in that space between not casual and not a suit.
Yeah.
And people used to have real problems with that. And I can remember people used to come into the office and in their suits.
Yeah.
Because they'd think, well, I don't know what else to wear.
Yeah, yeah.
Or they'd just take the tie off or something. You know?
Easier.
I used to go in flip-flops and a dressing gown.
Did you?
It was all right, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm sure your bosses were pleased with that. The next point was about nurturing relationships. And again, this is particularly relevant in the recovery community about building strong connections. Because that helps to build happiness and resilience. So moving from this very solitary condition of addiction and isolation of that into the real world, we start to create connections. It can be quite tough, but we know that loneliness is linked to stress and poor health. And I don't know if you've ever sat on any of those buddy seats in town. Have you? You know, have you seen the buddies?
I don't even know what they are.
A buddy seat. They got them in the Stoneborough Centre or whatever it's called now, the mall. All right, it's a buddy seat. So you can go, if you're feeling lonely, you can go and sit, and then people can come and sit and talk to you.
Sorry, you just asked me if I've ever sat on a buddy seat.
I thought you might have found it quite interesting.
Yeah, it's. Does that really sound like the sort of thing I'd do?
Not to sit there and have someone come and talk to you about.
No, it'd be the last thing I'd want to do. If there was a seat down there that you could sit in to make sure nobody would come and sit.
No, yeah, you could turn your back to the world.
Straight in that one. I mean, I don't go into town very often. I was having a conversation yesterday and with my family and discussing how I thought that Boots still had 2 floors in Maidstone. And apparently it hasn't done for donkey's years.
But no,
I thought they still sold records up the back of the floor, the downstairs bit.
Yeah, you've sort of time warped back to the 80s. You've had a time slip.
Is that the 80s? Is that far away? Blimey. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, it does show you how often you go in there.
Yeah. I won't be going anyway. I won't be going near the buddy seat anytime soon. So.
No, quite.
I expect you'd go and talk to someone sitting on one, though, wouldn't you?
I would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what if I
would you go and talk to me if I was sitting on one?
No. I'll just throw stuff at you from a distance. Cheer up.
You'd ramp up your fart monitor as you went past, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Take the filter off. So that's meaningful connection. So again, people can become very isolated. So we try and make sure that it's just having meaningful conversations. I know, I have a routine where I talk to my kids certain times during the week, and I find it really nice. It's nice to have that in place, so you know that you've got things to talk about at certain times, and it's really lovely.
I mean that's certainly true. I mean, one of the reasons why therapy tends to operate on scheduled sessions. Yeah. Because then if you're going through, even if you're not, but if you're going through a period of your life where you're in some level of crisis, knowing that you've got a space that you can go and talk to someone about the things that you're struggling with can feel like a real benefit.
Yeah, you can, yeah. The last couple of points. Caring for body and mind. Because we know physical and mental health, they're pretty much the foundation of everything, aren't they? They're the bedrock of everything.
You can't do anything if you're not. You can't do anything if you haven't got health in body and mind, can you?
No, you can't. And the first one we're talking about is sleep. People really struggle with that in early recovery, especially with the sleep pattern. We've been used to having drink and drug-induced comas, as it were, rather than proper sleep. It takes them ages, and they're always complaining. They want they want a drug, just want a bit of Zopiclone or something to knock them back out. We say, well, that's not really what we're after here. We want to get you back to a natural sleep pattern, but it takes a while. But it's one of the massive benefits of recovery. When you do get that back, it's lovely.
I mean, there's nothing better than a good night's sleep, is there?
No, it isn't.
Fantastic.
And getting that sleep and having sort of eating balanced meals, as we talked about, but movement around as well. Make sure you're moving properly, because you can become very sedentary as you do during addiction. So
that's why dogs are good for you.
Exactly, because it makes you go and do stuff, doesn't it?
You've got to go out, haven't you?
You've got to go out. I mean, I'm sure, I know you say you don't, but I'm sure sometimes you think, oh my God, it's raining, it's horrible, it's evil out there, the dogs are going to get messy. And you think,
Yeah, certainly the last bit, I think, oh God, I'm going to have to clean dogs. But I don't think I ever feel, I don't want to go out. I mean, I think this kind of feeds into everything that we're talking about here, really. The bonus, the benefit of positive routine.
yeah,
Once you have a positive routine, I go out every morning. It doesn't matter what the weather's like.
no, quite.
And so that then becomes a non-issue. It's like, that's what I do.
Yeah.
And I think when you have things in your life, when you can create things in your life that are so fundamental to your existence, that's just what you do, then, that becomes quite a positive thing.
Yeah, it does. And there's a bit in there in the research when I was going through this. I wasn't going to put this in, but we sort of touched on it before about having a digital sunset. So no screens sort of 30 minutes before you go to sleep to help that routine as well.
I mean, people find that really difficult, don't they?
Well, a lot of people scroll in bed, don't they, before they go to sleep,
Yeah.
bit of doom scrolling.
Yeah.
I've been guilty of that. I don't, it is a routine which you need to get out of.
Yeah. Well, again, I suppose it's one of those things that for some people it probably disturbs them more than others. If you have some level of control over that, it's probably not too bad. But if you're someone who finds you get kind of hooked into TikTok or Instagram and then you're scrolling for an hour and a half and it's past midnight, then that's not great, is it?
No, it's not. It's not.
So stop it.
That's everyone told, isn't it? So
let's hope nobody was listening to this episode trying to go to sleep then.
Yeah.
I've just woken them up.
Well, yes.
Sorry about that.
Would that be a digital sunset listening? Would that be?
No, I don't think so. I
if they're listening, you're right, isn't it?
I think generally speaking, probably, I can understand us being quite soporific.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably go to sleep listening to us.
Yeah. No, people have said that to me on a number of occasions.
Yeah.
So it is, quite soothing.
I certainly often feel like going to sleep listening to you.
I do myself. Yeah. The last bit, which I may have to shift around bits at the end here, because the last one is about embracing enough, which is all about gratitude. Mm-hmm. I'll do this bit, and then we can go on to the gratitude list, then go on to the conundrum, because it just fits nicely.
All right. Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, shit, I haven't got a conundrum, actually.
Okay, well, I'll give you a chance to think about that, and then I'll have to bring that up on your screen.
God.
Whilst I talk.
Might not have one this week.
Okay.
Yeah. If I don't feel like it.
If you don't feel like it, no. Well, that's it. That's enough for you, isn't it? What we've done already.
Exactly. I don't feel under any obligation.
No, nor should you. But I want to quickly talk about gratitude. So it's embracing what enough is.
Yeah.
And shifting the focus from what you perceive as missing in your life to what's actually present. Because we know that comparison is the thief of joy, and gratitude restores this perspective. And enough really is a mindset. It's not a number, as we talked about earlier on. It's a mindset. So the examples, again, we use this at work quite a lot about what things you're grateful for. And again, people will say, your home or a good conversation you've had today. And just practice saying to yourself that, you do have enough. You are enough. And I think that, again, we bring journaling into this. So putting down on your gratitude list, try and think of 3 things you're grateful for during the day, or for each night when you put the head on the pillow. And most people will put, I'm glad I'd never drink today. Yeah, I mean, it's a massive bit of gratitude that I'm glad I didn't pick up. So I was just going
to ask you, in terms of gratitude, do you? Because I think we've probably spoken about this before. When people start to think about gratitude, I've noticed that people have a tendency to think of the stuff they think they ought to be grateful for.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is very different from the things you are actually grateful for.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can create a kind of feeling of shame or guilt, and you think, oh, I ought to be grateful for this, but actually I'm not really feeling grateful for it. So with it, inherent in there is the necessity for a degree of honesty with yourself.
Yeah.
And genuinely, what do you feel grateful for today? Not what do you feel like you should be grateful for, because if you're thinking about what you should be grateful for, then in a sense you're living someone else's best life rather than yours, aren't you?
Well, exactly that. Yeah. Yeah, it can be easy. It can be. Although, people put when they're doing gratitude lists, when they're doing their daily journal, they often put on there the same things,
Well,
like
that's
being
fine, isn't
sober,
it? That's fine.
which is fine. Absolutely. But they think they've got to. Oh, I've got to think of something different.
No, it's
no
not.
point.
It's not a competition.
No, quite.
It's about what you genuinely feel grateful for today, and it might be the same as what you felt grateful for yesterday.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Exactly. Gratitude is not time limited.
No.
So that leads quite nicely on, because I finished my notes on this. Really, I think it follows on quite nicely onto gratitude.
Well, that's good, because we're going to miss the conundrum this week, because I can't think of one, and I can't find it, and quite frankly, I don't care.
No, and why should you?
No.
No.
You think anyone's really disappointed listening to this, thinking, I really like the conundrum?
Yeah, probably. I am a bit.
Are you?
Yeah.
I'll give you 2 next time then.
Well, actually, talking about with my gratitude, because I've got 4 items on my gratitude list.
Oh, well, there you go. We haven't got time for a conundrum, have we?
No, we haven't, because I'm bang full of gratitude at the moment.
Oh, well, good. Well, I'll go first then, and I'll give you the floor.
Okay.
Because I've got 2 items on mine. They're in a kind of hierarchy, if you like.
Okay.
So generally this week, I felt grateful for the signs of the emergence of spring.
Yes.
So, because I'm out a lot, I'm very conscious of seeing buds on the shrubs and the trees, and the blossom coming out, and the bluebells coming through, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm generally very grateful for that. And of course, on Wednesday we had some nice weather, and I was able to put my shorts on.
Yeah,
which was lovely, and sit on the decking in the beanbag.
It was bizarre, wasn't it? Was it 17 or 18 it got up to? It was quite a high number.
It was almost too hot. Let's put it that way.
No, it would never have got that point.
It's almost too hot. I mean, 17, 18, that's about as much as we need. Anyway,
that's about your favourite, isn't it?
That is about my favourite. So I'm pleased to see that. And the other thing is, when I pruned my blackcurrant bushes, that is not a euphemism, earlier on in the winter, I took some of the cuttings and I put them in some compost to see if I could grow some new blackcurrant bushes to give to friends and family. Obviously, I won't give one to you, because you haven't got anywhere to grow it.
I'm not a friend anyway, or a family.
That's true, yeah. So you don't really count on any
level.
measure. Yeah.
No.
And I was delighted to see that they've started rooting and they're starting to grow.
Oh.
So I've got all of these baby plants from my own blackcurrant bush, which I've tended since it was tiny, that I can now scatter amongst friends and family, which I don't know why, but that feels tremendous.
Oh, I'm sure they'd be quite grateful for that.
Yeah.
If they got somewhere to plant it.
Yeah. Well, a garden, probably.
Yeah, I was going to mention
that's the best thing, isn't it?
I was going to call you a proper Percy Thrower then, but I'm not sure people will remember Percy Thrower.
I reckon people will remember Percy Thrower.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, not everybody, but
no.
I shouldn't. I don't know what the sort of typical age of our listeners is, but I wouldn't imagine we're terribly popular with the very young, do you?
No, quite, no. Well, we talk rubbish, but we talk about things from the 80s, and they were way before they were born.
Yeah, no, so I reckon a lot of our listeners will be familiar with Percy Thrower.
Who would be your Alan Titchmarsh, perhaps?
No, not Titchmarsh. Yeah, he's more up to date. Monty Don, I suppose.
Monty Don, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He's your modern day Percy Thrower.
Yeah, I suppose he is, really. Yeah. Did Percy Thrower ever do Gardener's World? I'm not sure. I don't suppose you've ever watched Gardener's World, have you?
I haven't, but I can't imagine. I mean, he would have been around before the age of... No.
I reckon we're sort of 70s.
Yeah.
He was Percy Thrower, wasn't he?
Yeah, probably.
You look a bit like him, actually.
I do in many lights. Anyway, okay, there's some good gratitude there.
Yeah, thanks.
So the 4 points I've got on mine are... The first one I thought of was about using up my annual leave before I lose it. So I've been off of work this week, which has been
lovely.
Nice bit of reset. So that was good. I'm grateful for that. I was very grateful for the RAC breakdown, man, when my battery just suddenly decided to not work anymore.
Oh, and what's happened there? Is it the alternator?
No, it's just literally the battery.
It just flat, was it?
Yeah, it's only in retrospect now I've got a new battery on. I realised how bad the old one was.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's given the car a real boost. Even though
Yeah.
He came along and just checked it and said, yeah, no, it's your battery. You just need a new battery.
Yeah.
I said, oh, that's not so bad. 240 quid or whatever it was. And he had the cheek, right? Luckily, it happened at work.
Yeah.
I just used the little air compressor to pump up my tyre because the tyre pressure low light had come on.
Yeah.
I used that and it sort of drained the battery and I couldn't get the car started again. All right? And I mean, you know where I work. It's in the middle of nowhere.
It is,
So the RAC man came along.
Yeah.
And he said, it's 240 quid. I was going, oh, man, that's a lot of money. He said, well, you can shop around. I thought, shop around? I'm in the middle of nowhere. I need the car. I've got nothing. So there it was.
You could have walked to Halfords from there, taking about 2.5 hours.
It would have done. Yeah, and then take the battery back, then try and work out how to fit it. No.
You just put a couple of double A's in there, see if that'll get you home.
It's about time they could do that. Just have it, yes.
240 quid. God, dear. That's quite expensive to blow your tyres up, isn't it?
Well, yeah, as it turned out, yeah. Although I was grateful for the fact that could have happened at a much less convenient place.
Yeah, it could have done, yeah.
On the side of the road, for example, in the middle of rush hour or whatever. So I was grateful for from coming out and sorting that. I was grateful that my landlord isn't selling up at the moment, so he's decided to go.
That's even better news, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's a big relief a big relief for me.
Wow, you've got some heavy lifting gratitude this week.
Yeah, I have. So I was pleased that you said that. So yes.
What's the last one? I'm waiting with bated breath. It must be peace in the Middle East.
All right. Well, the last one is the birth of Henry James Pankhurst, my newest little relative.
Wow.
Which now makes me a great uncle.
Wow, that's amazing.
I was pretty great anyway, but this makes me an official great uncle.
That's a matter of opinion.
Yeah. So yeah, I still like
that. You would definitely be able to get in as an OAP at the football now, won't you?
Has been a great uncle, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I've got to tell you something. When you finish with your gratitude.
Okay, and that's it, really.
That is an absolute barrow load of gratitude.
It is, isn't it? So yeah, I'm feeling chipper.
Oh, as well you should, and this is going to make you feel even more chipper.
Okay.
Because I've been kind of ripping on you for you being asked if you were a pensioner getting into the football a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I was at the dentist a couple of weeks ago. I've been having some trouble with a tooth that I broke and a crown that has been put on there. I won't bore you with those details.
No.
Needless to say, I'm not grateful for it. But I was waiting for my X-rays to come back, and I was sitting there talking to the dental nurse, and she said to me, so, do you still work then? Oh, you cheeky cow. Looking at me, obviously thinking that I was
like you should be.
I was retired.
Yeah, you're well above the retirement age.
Yeah, I said yes, and I tried to say it with good
without
grace.
Venom. Yeah, quite.
Yeah, so I thought that'd tickle you.
Good. Well, I'm glad that's come home to roost.
Yeah.
After you took the piss out of me.
Yeah. It was a bit of a shock, really. Are you still working?
It would have been even nicer if you said, "Oh wait, at your age, you can get reduced dental fees," wouldn't it? That would have been nice.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Yeah.
You'd willingly accept it. So I was willingly to accept.
Yeah.
Being treated as a pensioner, so I could get into Maidstone United cheaper.
Yeah, I do get free eye care now, which is quite important because obviously I've had, as you have, trouble with my eyes in the past. Yeah. But when you're on the NHS, you only get a biannual examination instead of one every year.
Okay.
So it's great. You go on the NHS and you get less good service. What the hell's going on?
That's crazy.
Anyway, there we are.
Anyway, should we go on to the lyric challenge?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
So there's the 4 questions.
Yes.
First 3, 2 points each. Last one.
You have to go through the rules, don't you?
I do, just in case, so we know where we're.
What, in case there are new listeners who don't know what's happening?
You don't know, do you?
I'll tell you what, if you're a new listener and you've got this far, you must be bewildered. You must think, what the fuck is this all about?
Okay, lyric challenge.
Yeah.
The first one. We'd stay up late playing cards. Henry Winterman's cigars.
Wow, absolutely. This is not ringing anything.
We'd stay up late playing cards. Henry Winterman's cigars. It's difficult. They just about got that to rhyme, really, but it's a tough one, really, isn't it?
It's quite good, actually. That's I quite like that rhyme.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got no idea. So what era are we?
It's sort of Britpoppy sort of era.
Okay, so it might be a Britpop. Is it a Britpoppy band? I'll go. I've got no idea.
A little bit, yeah.
I've got no idea. I'll go Suede.
It's the same era, same sort of thing.
Pulp.
But it's not. No,
Blur.
no. I can't let you just rattle through them.
The Inspiral Carpets.
No, it's Ash.
Oh, no, never. I never would have got it.
Girl from Mars. Girl from Mars by Ash.
No, shite, isn't it?
It's a great track.
No, I'd never have got that. I'd never have got that. And if any listener got that, well done. Congratulations. Okay. Yeah.
No points.
Yeah, all right, don't rub it in.
Number 2, A Woman Like You's No Good For Me.
That rings a bell, but again, I'm not getting anything. Woman Like You's No Good For Me. What era?
I would say sort of very early 90s.
Okay. What genre?
It's sort of pop, really. This was some that wasn't known for being a singer.
Right.
He was very much an actor. And then he
actually, I think I can. I don't know who it is, but I'm getting something here. Go on. What were you going to say?
He was, and he released a couple of, one particularly very successful.
Is it
album.
Jason Donovan?
No, it's not. It's a much more credible actor, really.
Woman Like You's No Good For Me. I can hear that. I think I can hear that lyric, but I'm not going to get it. Who is it?
Okay. Well, he was a Geordie.
Oh, it's Jimmy Nail.
Jimmy Nail.
It's Jimmy Nail, and it's not Crocodile Shoes, is it?
No.
It's another one.
Yeah. I think it was on the same album as Crocodile.
Yeah, I've got that album actually.
Yeah, I have. It's very good.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I can hear it, but I don't know what the name of the song is.
It's called Ain't No Doubt. It's plain to see.
Yeah.
So do you want to
give me
half
a point for that?
I'll give a point for Jimmy Nail. There.
All right, thanks. Well, a sympathy point. Yeah.
Do you feel like it's a little?
No, I think I should get no points for that because you virtually gave me that, and I don't think I've ever gone through. I don't think I've ever got zero.
Got zero.
So I'm on for 0. So that'd be quite an achievement. Yeah.
You are. Number 3. Yeah. Words are very unnecessary. They can only do harm.
Words are very unnecessary. Yeah. Again, this is striking something. This is Depeche Mode, I think.
It is. Yes, you got a point.
Yeah, and what's the song? I'm not very familiar with their back catalogue, but I can hear the song, and I'm not sure what it's called. How many words is it?
3.
No, I won't get the song. I don't think
it was during the period after. Obviously, it was after Vince Clarke had left, and they started to do less poppy stuff, a little bit more. I mean, they're massive in America, aren't they?
Yeah, a little bit more sort of credible. How would you define their genre now?
It's tricky, isn't it?
In indie,
indie rock,
electronic. Yeah, I don't know.
You're not going to get the track.
I don't think I am. I can't remember.
Enjoy the silence.
That's it.
Can't give you a point for that.
No. So I got 1 point.
Mode.
Got 1 point so far. Yeah.
So the 4-pointer.
Yeah.
She moves like she don't care, smooth as silk.
Yeah. Again, that is familiar, but I can't place it. She moves like she don't care. Era.
Yeah. Well, this was a song which they previously. The band had previously been very big, sort of punk, post-punk, more notably known for their lead singer.
Right.
And then they released this track probably 10 years later or something, and it was a big hit and a personal favourite.
Public Image.
No.
Moves like she don't care. No, I'm not going to get it.
So the lead singer was, a lot of people mixed up the name of the lead singer with the name of the band. They used to call the lead singer by the name of the band, effectively.
No, don't know.
She came up during the punk era. She became very much pop mainstream as the lead singer of this particular band. She's still going now. Did Glastonbury a couple of years. I've said she now. I've told you she wandered on stage. I think she's nearly 8. She's 80 now.
Oh, Blondie.
Yes, there we are.
Blondie. Blondie moves like she didn't. Is it? I can't remember.
Maria.
Bloody hell. Yeah, I watched her doing that at Glastonbury.
Did you? What, you weren't there? What, on the telly?
No, I wasn't there. Like you weren't there either.
No, quite.
You still saw about that?
Yes, I am.
There isn't one this year, is there?
No, it's a fellow year, I think.
Yeah. Oh, well, you'd probably be able to go in it this year then, wouldn't you?
I could
Just go down there, have a look at the field. Have a look at the field. Probably some sheep in there.
The tickets are well cheap.
You have to milk some cows, though, instead.
Well,
I didn't do very well today, did I?
Not particularly. It wasn't your finest moment there.
1 point, I think I got.
Well, yeah, or 2. Give you 2. Two. Just Jimmy Nail, Depeche Mode, you definitely got.
I got Depeche Mode. That was, I suppose, okay, 2, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, probably best to draw this. I was a bit like West Ham at Liverpool, wasn't I, there?
Oh, mate. I was going to not talk about football today because it's depressing me too much.
Let's not talk about football. Let's go. And
okay.
I'm going to make some cornbread.
Good work.
All right.
Okay, mate. Laters.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandy-wellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.